Please welcome Governor Kristi Noem.
Good afternoon. How are you? It's like I didn't see you earlier. Good to see you. It's so wonderful to come all the way here to the West Coast and to see South Dakota faces. Maybe do not know, but I served in our state legislature for 4 years, 2 as the assistant majority leader, and am an ALEC alumni. It was an incredibly, yes, we should cheer for that. It was an incredible organization during those years, to me, a resource that provided the research, the data, the statistics, the economic feedback that we needed to do big policy at that point in time. When I came into the legislature, I started working with our majority leader to rewrite our property tax system in the state and successfully did that, but we often turned to the tax policies, recommendation, and information that we received from other states through ALEC. And it's been a foundation of what good policy is and what federalism is and free markets and really standing by those institutions when we're running our states, and it has been for decades. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're making it a priority and that it is something that you've decided is worth spending time, because the collaboration in this room will benefit you and your policies for many, many years to come. I do want to take the time to say a special thank you to Art Laffer, because he has been instrumental in my life. And the reason that we're all sitting here today is because a lot in his leadership. And we're looking at what's happening in the United States of America with the Biden administration, and we're almost seeing a repeat of what happened in the 1970s. Art helped guide President Reagan back to economic freedom after President Carter devastated this country. We were seeing soaring inflation, higher costs, families that were struggling, and Art was instrumental in partnering with President Reagan and giving him the tools and support that he needed to bring in historic tax reform that gave us decades of prosperity here in the United States of America. So my point is that you're in the right spot, and you're listening to the right people to really promote this country and your states into success far into the future. So this organization has leaders that have proven themselves over time, and with the tax reform that I was able to work on when I was in Congress with President Trump, we saw economic growth. We saw incredible opportunities in this country that now the Biden administration is trying to tear down faster than I even imagined. It's incredible to me how quickly they're devastating the economic freedom that we have seen over the years in the United States. You know, I would tell you that what that tells us as a testimony is that leadership has consequences. And you don't have to go any farther the last couple of years than looking from state to see what leadership did to families, to businesses, to children trying to get an education. Leadership had consequences, and it played out in the homes, the streets, the cities, even the rural areas of the country throughout the last couple of years in a very, very real way. That means you have a unique opportunity that you've never had before. People are waking up to their role and the importance of showing up and weighing in on policy in a way that I don't think they have for the last 15 to 20 years. They're passionate, they're at school board meetings, they're at city council meetings, and they care more than ever. That means that when you do your work, when you do your policy, it needs to be good. It needs to be policy that is backed up with the facts and true information so that they know they can rely on you to give them something that they'll trust in the future. Very few people trust public officials today. I think one of the greatest disservices that we're going to see come out of this pandemic is that we have politicized our health experts as well. And politicians can't be trusted, the media can't be trusted, and the public is looking for people who will do the work to put forward good policy. We live in an instant gratification society. People read headlines, they don't read any further. I learned during the pandemic I couldn't just make decisions. I had to educate people on why I was making the decisions that I was making. I gave one whole press conference on just the Constitution of the United States of America, what it said my job was and what it said my job wasn't. I gave a whole press conference on perspective, told people to go turn their TVs off and go for a walk, and to get some perspective back on what they were seeing in their states. Talked another one about our state's motto, which is under God, the people rule. So while you work on your policy, remember that people are also looking for someone who brings them back to reality and inspires them for why that policy is important and what it's going to do for their kids and their grandkids. Now, I would say that most of you in this room had no idea who I was a couple of years ago, right? The first time maybe you heard my name was when the liberals were busy kicking me in the head for all the decisions I was making in South Dakota. Rachel Maddow, Elizabeth Warren, doing nightly news shows, talking and calling me reckless, destructive, irresponsible, because I was trusting the people in our state. When I ran for governor, I very clearly said in 2018 that I believed South Dakota could be an example to the nation. That we were a smaller state, we didn't have that many people, and that would allow us to be nimble, that we could do things that maybe bigger states couldn't do as fast, and we could be a pilot project for the country on what our conservative principles could deliver for success for the people that lived there. I told them that I believed in building strong families, and we focused on that. A lot of the consequences we see play out on the streets today of detrimental effects is the breakdown of the family, and that South Dakota would be an example of what we could do to solve those problems by doing it together. Now, you've heard, I'm sure, throughout the last several months, the decisions we've made in South Dakota. We were the only state that never once closed a single business throughout the pandemic. In fact, I didn't even define what an essential business was in our state, because I don't believe the government has the ability or authority to tell you that your business isn't essential. We didn't mandate anything. We didn't issue a shelter in place. Also, we're the only state that didn't take the elevated unemployment benefits that were offered by the administration. And today, I think we're a testimony to what can happen when you have people that come together and say, we have a challenge in front of us, but we're going to trust you and let you use personal responsibility to make the best decisions for your family. Be flexible, but we're going to get through this together. South Dakota has always been a historically low tax state, and that's largely because of our good legislators. They recognize the benefits that proposes and what that does for the families there. Can I have my South Dakota legislators stand up and have them be recognized for their leaders? These are the leaders that make the tough decisions, but also care enough to go and message it to people about what is important about keeping South Dakota successful. We do not have a personal income tax, no corporate income tax. We don't have a personal property tax. What funds state government is a 4.5-cent sales tax largely. And we are seeing historic revenues come into the state of South Dakota because of the economic growth that we have seen over the last 2 years of people coming and moving to our state. In fact, we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. I have right now less than 700 people in the entire state that are on unemployment benefits right now. Our people want to work, and they can work, and they have incredible opportunities for new careers and jobs right now because we have 28,000 open jobs in the state of South Dakota, and they're open jobs because we've had hundreds of businesses move to our state. We have had thousands of people decide to move their families to South Dakota, and they've done that because they recognized that they wanted to live somewhere where the government respected them. They wanted to live somewhere where they could have a quality of life, have their kids in the classroom, and make the best decisions going forward. Listen, other people's economies and in this country have been crushed, but it wasn't COVID that crushed the economy. Government crushed the economy. And then the government quickly turned around and held itself up as the savior, didn't it? And said it was there to save everybody from all the devastating effects those decisions brought forward. We have seen growth in South Dakota that has created opportunities for us to put historic amounts into trust funds for the future that will give us ongoing revenue going forward, that will make our budget easier to handle, but also make sure we're cutting taxes and that we are making the burden lighter on the families that live there. We have put historic numbers into our reserve funds as well. We have a AAA credit rating in the state of South Dakota, and we have the only fully funded pension plan in the entire country as well in our state. When I came in as governor, I talked about the need for high-speed internet access across the states, allow people to work from home, educate their kids, even our most remote rural areas. Our legislators fully funded that last year in 1 year to get that build out down when it was intended to be a 5 or 6 year plan to get it done. We built a railroad last year across the state of South Dakota, repaired dams that needed to be repaired for the last 30 years, made long-term investments to create economic success in the state of South Dakota, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't just impacting today or tomorrow, but we were doing it for the long term. We made good economic decisions, and we're going to continue to benefit from that, but we will continue to be impacted by the decisions that are made out of Washington, D.C. And we all need to partner together as states to make sure we're telling our story of what successes we are seeing in states that are governed with fiscal discipline, with free markets, with federalism, and what that really did deliver for people during the last several years when we've had such real economic examples in front of us. You know, in 2020 and this year as well, we have seen the media use fear to control people. We have seen liberals use fear to promote their agenda. And I was shocked I looked across the country and I saw people roll over and just give up their freedoms. Because the government told people they couldn't meet together, they gave up their freedom of assembly. Because the government told them they couldn't go to church, they gave up their freedom of religion. We have governments telling people what they can say and what they can't say, and we're losing our freedom of speech. When you stand in front of your people and you talk, remind them of the historical foundational rights that our founders gave us, that has protected and made America so special for the last couple hundred years, that is what has kept us so great, and that today we're losing them because they're using fear to control people. If you turn on the news at night, you will hear newscasters ask questions constantly using the terms, "Aren't you worried? Aren't you scared?" None of that is an accident. Your words have power. As policymakers, the words that you speak impact people. My staff knows that I'm a bit obsessive about this. If they write a speech for me or talking points for me, if it says worried or scared, I say, take it out. I'm never worried, I'm never scared. Now, is that the truth? I would say not necessarily. I'm one of those people that lays awake at night and is concerned about things. But when you speak it out loud, it affects other people. I would encourage all of you to pay attention to what is happening in the media and how people are using those words to manipulate people's emotions and to make them support bad policies by the words that they speak. Be different, be strong, be clear, remove those types of emotional words from your language, because you'll be much more effective and you'll give people a reassurance that they really do need in this day and age, that some things never change. And what should never change in this country is how we were established and the freedoms that were given to us by our Creator, not by the government. And that is a powerful role that you have. You know, I think I'll just leave you with a couple of thoughts, but what I would really like you to know is that not only in South Dakota did we have economic success and doing well, but we were the only state in the country that significantly decreased our drug overdoses as well. Our mental health challenges went down. So as you trust people and as you educate them and as you do the work to put forward good policy, just remember that you will see the ripple effect of more happiness as well, more success as families. I give this consistently, and I'm sure my legislators in South Dakota are tired of hearing me say it, but we live in a country that's addicted to being offended. Don't we? We love to be offended by each other, right? When we say, oh, I cannot believe that they said that, that's so horrible, I'll never forgive them, or you quit talking to them. I need you to get over yourselves. I need you to get over yourselves. We have people in our lives that because of politics, we quit talking to. Maybe it's people in your family, it could be people that you serve with, it could be people in your church, and you quit talking to them, and that's not how we're gonna win this country back. We need to get over ourselves and start having those conversations again and start by listening. Nobody feels like they're being heard anymore. Listen to them, build a relationship, and that is how you will start winning the hearts and minds of this country again. When I married into the Noem family, most of them were Democrats. And then can you imagine, I took their name and I ran for Congress as a Republican. But today, the vast majority of them are registered Republicans. In fact, my mother-in-law has gone off the deep end. She is, I tell her all the time, Sharon, you be careful, you sound like a Tea Party true believer. And she said, I am, Kristi. But we did not have a change of heart at all in our lives because I blew them up at the Thanksgiving Day dinner table or because we fought and argued. It was because we built a relationship and we loved each other. And then we had good discussions on the policy. And that's what we need again in this country. When you go fill your car with gas today, turn to the person next to you and say, what do you think about what these gas prices are? You go through the grocery store line, start talking to people there, standing there. Call up that cousin or neighbor and ask them to go have coffee again. That's how we'll get this country back on track, is by building relationships and recognizing the value of the individual. I also want to ask you to be happy. People will be attracted to you by your optimism. Everything in this world is so dark right now. People are looking for some hope. They're looking for a bright, shiny city on a hill. And what you believe truly does work and creates the only hope that this country has. Listen, all we did in South Dakota with the leaders that we have is we took the conservative principles that we've always believed and we did it. And it worked. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and my husband says to me, gosh, they're really coming after you again. And it's because they want to destroy the fact that they recognize that what we believe in a limited government, trusting people, they want to prove that it will fail and are trying to take us down with that. I understand that. What they will do, the extent they'll go to promote the agenda to control individuals. But that's why we need to attract people to us through our optimism and tell our story. Provide the hope that we really do need in this country to get people recognizing what's so special about this country. All we did in South Dakota was prove that what we've always believed for years works. So wake up in the morning, remember that you were here, pulled back the shades, got out of bed in the greatest country in the world. You were here in the United States of America, and you are more blessed than 99% of the people in the world just because you're here. So that's my little thoughts I want to leave with all of you, is while we have the best policies, while we have the best groups like ALEC to work with and leaders that we can listen to, remember that this country is also desperate for people who will inspire them and who will tell them why it's important that we follow these policies and what it can do for them and their families in the future. And they need some hope. They need to see someone that they want to spend time with and be with. And that's you. That's every one of you. Don't be individuals who seek headlines. Be individuals who care about the strategy. The last story I'll tell you about is my dad was a cowboy. He was tough. and he was my best friend. One day, I was about 10 years old, we were out building fence, because that's pretty much all we did. If we weren't hunting, we were working. But we were out building fence, and he turned to me to reach for the post mall, which is how many of you know what a post, if you've ever run a campaign, you've pounded in a post before. So he turned to me and he said, "Where's the post mall?" And I said, "It's still in the truck." He said, "Go get it." And he was upset that I didn't have it there when he needed it. So I ran to the truck, I got the post mall, I ran back, and as soon as I handed it to him, he turned to me and he put his finger in my face and he said, "You should know what I need before I know what I need." And I remember thinking, as like a 10-year-old girl standing there thinking, how will I know what you need before you know what you need? But what he was doing is he was training me to be strategic, to think 3 or 4 steps ahead of what he would need and have it ready so he never had to wait. Not to just think in the moment, but to be efficient and plan it out. Do that with your policy, please. Don't just look at, if I run this bill today, it'll fail, but I'll get a good headline, maybe it'll help me get reelected. It's irresponsible, and it's what's ruining this country. Think about what this bill you're running today, what will that do 10 years from now? What kept me awake at night during the pandemic was that I knew that when leaders overstep their authority, that's when we break this country. And I didn't want to be the governor that would do that. Know what your job is. Do your job. Don't do more than your job. A government that is powerful enough to do everything for you and solve all the problems of all the people in your states, that's also a government that is powerful enough to take all your freedom away. So be very careful about what you do and what you push and what the consequences of that mean far into the future. Don't think for the next 30 days, the next election cycle. Be a thinker who's thinking about the next 10 to 20 years and the world that we're going to leave our kids and our grandkids. We need those kinds of problem solvers. Best gift my parents ever gave me was that they gave us impossible things to do. We are crippling our children in this country, and we're crippling them by doing everything for them. Your job is to give them impossible things to do, challenges, so that when they accomplish them, they know how to be problem solvers, and they also build confidence to take on the next biggest thing that they have to do. So when you do that, be teaching people about how this policy is going to make those opportunities and build stronger kids that can lead our country far into the future as well. We've got a big job ahead of us, but you're right. Wake up every day knowing you're right, and that all you need to do to make sure that the principles that you believe in, what you're fighting for, you just need to let more people know why. Do the education and the why of it. God bless you. Thank you for letting me be with you. All of you travel safe home. Thank you so much to ALEC for your leadership.